Sabi girl no dey too like talk. Animals dey in human form. Body man nobody like work, but you must hustle if you want job. You no finish they won't fight us. If them they run them no fit catch up. I know they form say I too righteous. No con they form say you too like us. Me no get the time for the hate and the bad energy. Got my mind on my money. Make you dance like broccoli. Steady green like broccoli. Steady on my grind.
And we've got a fabulous panel of leading ladies in the creative industry. Let me start by introducing them. So we've got Kimberly Thomas, she's from Fender Music. We've got Scarlett Brady, she's an author for The Hive. We've got Ice Cream, the poster girl, she's a rapper and the RTM podcast host. We've got a MOBO award-winning Rachel Kerr, she's a gospel artist. We've got Paigey Cakey, rapper and actress. We've got Ashleen, the Big Brother star. We've got Monique, she's the founder of the Creative Industries Awards, the very first one, and it's founded in Birmingham. And we've got the lovely Gabriella Kingsley, who's a creative director from many videos that you've probably seen on MTV and on the media. My company is Evolve Media Entertainment, and I formed it into Evolve Nation Academy. So with Evolve Media Entertainment, I was doing stage shows with artists and entertainers, and I've now merged it to be able to create platforms and bring education into the spectrum. So I'd like to start by having these ladies introduce themselves and tell their stories.
I started my whole journey when I was coming out of college. So my journey started with acting. I started in Attack the Block, that was my first ever film, and that kind of just came about from going to projects at Hackney Empire. So Hackney Empire is like a massive theatre in Hackney, and I used to go there during the holidays, the 6-week holidays, and I would just take part in projects. While I was there, a casting director was there and was like, hey, come along, you know, we've got auditions. So I went to all these auditions not knowing that I was going to get a part. And then from there, my acting career just went off, and then I was in Waterloo Road and loads of different films. And while I was doing that, I decided I wanted to get into music.
And then over to Ashleen.
You probably would have first seen me on Big Brother. Everyone thinks that that's how I started, but it's not. So basically I was homeless, slept on a park bench, was literally had nothing. And I didn't want to stay in that place, so I pushed myself in any direction that I could, to be honest. I got hostels, and then I got into modelling. And then one day when I was hungover, my friend begged me to go to the Big Brother auditions. And I was like, no, I'm too hungover, I can't be doing that. She rang up again and said, what if I get my flatmate to drive us? So I said, all right, cool. I was still hanging, going there, dancing in the thing. And from there, it's just been a progression, and I've just made sure that I didn't leave the industry because it is the hand that feeds me. So I've evolved and changed with the times and done what I needed to do to become Ashleen. That's it, that's all I know.
Hi everyone, my name's Monique, also known as Unique Monique. I started off, first of all, modelling, so I started off as a pageant girl. From there I went into music videos, and that kind of grew. You know, I started off doing just little short music videos for unknown artists, and then obviously I evolved and I started to work with bigger artists. From that I went into acting, so my career in acting is quite new. Been in the industry now for about 3 years. But fast forward to last year, I launched the Creative Industry Awards. We had just under 250 attendees last year in Birmingham. 80% of attendees were actually from London, which was quite a big thing for Birmingham. And we had some, really good attendees. We had a lot of top boy cast, like Dean Ramsey, Ashley Walters, Mickey Sim and Femi, but quite a few well-known people. So this year's going to be bigger and better. Had quite a lot of interest from larger companies. BT got in touch with me, Channel 4 got in touch.
Hi guys, my name is Gabriella. I am a video director, and I started in music video production when I was 22. A friend of mine who was directing directing, wanted to start a small company. So I started producing music videos essentially, and then that very quickly basically led me into directing music videos. So I directed my first music video in 2016, which was a Cracked and Coded music video called Fallen. And then since then, for the last 7 years, I've been directing completely independent. And yeah, it's going good, no complaints.
Hey guys, so my name's Rachel. I did not start wanting to be in music or be an entrepreneur. I actually was a lawyer and was very content. I finished my university degree, was very content doing my training contract, but God had other plans. And long story short, doors started to open in music, and I really for a long time felt because I hadn't started really young, maybe I wasn't qualified to start doing music. But I thought, you know what, there's a call, so let me just see what happens. Long story short, after 9 months of my manager managing me, after that we were nominated and won a MOBO, was invited to sing for the former US president, invited to 10 Downing Street, and last year was considered for 4 Grammy Awards. So the reason why I say that is because I know many people kind of do feel you have to start young, and if you do, I think it's better. But if you, for whatever reason, on that journey, just honour your heart, honour your hustle, and respect it. You have no idea where it leads to.
I'm co-host on RTM podcast show. I'm also an artist and I'm CEO of Poster Girl Lashes. I've always been interested in music from a very young age. I've been surrounded by music. My dad was all in rough cut bands, etc. I started off modelling. I used to model for like Diesel, Joe Blogs and a lot of things, and then I started in a rap duo with my sister Mafiana. So I started doing beauty, and in the lockdown I used to do lashes, couldn't do lashes anymore, so I started my own eyelash line, which constantly keeps selling out, so yeah, God is good. I'm getting into acting, so I've done a couple of movies that are about to come out. Yes.
Everyone, I am Scarlett Braid and I'm the author of The Hive, and mine is the story of what is for you is truly for you. And I say that because even if you try and escape what's for you, it will come back and find you and make it for you. My journey into writing didn't start as, going the typical way, getting a degree and, being around authors or working in the publishing industry. I literally woke up one day and said, well, I can write a book. After reading all my life, I decided that I could write a book, me, from East London, no prior writing background, no experience. And I decided to do that. And because I just decided to get my head in the right space and decide that's what I wanted for myself, I managed to not only get a publishing deal, but to be on this stage right now surrounded by these amazing ladies telling you all that if you have a dream of being a writer, working in the music industry, being an actor, or just being your fabulous self, there is a place for you. So, thank you.
Hi everyone, my name's Kim. I originally wanted to be an artist, and I went to uni to do music production and performance, and then I realised it ain't for me. So with that, did a few different courses and realised the music business is definitely more something I was passionate about. Did that for 3 years whilst kind of trying to get some sort of work experience, couldn't get anything. So I started my events company in Manchester called the Living Room Club. Ran quite a few different events during that time. Then went on to work at CAA, the booking agency, and then went over to work at Fender Music, where I'm an artist marketing manager for black music.
So today's topic is about equity, diversity and inclusion within the creative industries for women.
Wait, what? Sorry?
So the topic
You should have given me champagne.
The topic is equity, diversity and inclusion. So could you give an example of when it's impacted you?
I can only speak for myself as I am my product, I guess. I think back in the day, so I started off as a glamour model because I was too curvy, even without the surgery. But I think the industry has evolved so much, whereas now I'm in control of my image and I decide what goes out. So even things with like OnlyFans, right? I'm on OnlyFans. Don't get it twisted. I'm not open leg showing my nothing like that. Never showing nothing. But you can Google for free. free. So why wouldn't I utilise my image and be in charge of it rather than men? And inclusion, but I include myself in everything. So that's where I go with that one.
I've been quite lucky in the creative industry until recently. I've not really had any issues. The thing that stands in my mind the most though was when I was on set for the BBC. Don't know if I can say BBC, but I'll say it. In January this year, basically I was told to come with my natural hair. But I've never done that before because obviously my background is in modelling. It was because of the drama that it was, drama, which is fine. So this was the first time being on set with my natural hair, like my natural authentic self. And I've heard, obviously, women of colour, black women in particular, complaining about, the makeup artist not being able to do their makeup or do their hair. And I thought, I've never really had that issue until January. I've gone to wardrobe, I've got dressed, they've fitted me, not a problem. Go to makeup, standing there, and no one wanted to look in my eye. Nobody, literally, they were looking over me. They're looking at the white guy behind me, come and get your hair. And I'm standing there, and I felt so uncomfortable. And I thought, wow, this is what people are talking about. Anytime to do my hair myself, and it wasn't just myself. There was another black lady that went through the same thing as well. So it's still happening now. In 2023.
I started mainly in UK hip hop music videos. And obviously you've got the artists, and then they come with their 101 like boys. They're whistling at you or making inappropriate comments. I've had artists before call me babes, and the reality of that is that I think over time I've learned my confidence. I don't think necessarily always it's to try to offend someone. Sometimes it's just like a natural instinct, like you're speaking to a woman, oh yeah babes, but I'm like, hold on, at the end of the day, I'm technically still, you're still employing me, and this is still a work environment, so you just have to learn ways to be able to communicate, to make sure that you're respected. My rap sheet of music videos now speaks for itself as well, so it's like I don't have anything to prove.
Do you feel that you had to fight for your place then, or for your respect?
Yeah, definitely, 100%. Even till now, it's still a boys' club, still when all the award shows come around and things like that, it's still the same kind of group of guys that are always getting nominated. That I did the RD&H video War, and there was so much hype around it. When it came out, and everyone was like, "Oh yeah, it's got to be nominated." When the awards come around, that didn't get nominated for anything. I'm in a very heavy male-dominated industry, but most industries are more male-dominated unless it's kind of beauty and things like that. So you do just have to put in that extra hard work, but then when you get there as well, it's so much more satisfying.
My wish was to see more CEOs, females that own record labels, studios, engineers, those types of things. So you don't always feel that you have to go through the men. So they always get familiar. So I've always felt God thank my mum, she actually raised me to be quite strong, headstrong. So I've always morally held my ground. So I'm quite, with the guys, I kind of, know how to carry myself, do you know what I mean? But sometimes that can take you longer to get where you want to get to, do you know what I mean? So you just have to kind of, ride it out.
Even on my come up when I first started, I wasn't getting booked for the shows that I believe I should have been on, but there was always males on the show, or I'd be getting booked, but I wouldn't be getting the same pay. I'd be getting a small fee, a £250, but an artist below me with a smaller following and less streams and views would be getting £1,000. But because I'm a female, I must settle for less. That's something that I went through. And the only reason why I know about the paying situation is because I'm very open and I speak to people how much are you getting paid? Because we're on the same shit. I want to know. I want to make sure the back is the same.
And Kimberly, so you're the marketing representative for Black music, is that correct? At Fender Music, and that's a guitar company, right? And could you explain to everyone what the background of that, the genre, and obviously with the topic, how did that role come about, and how did you find it relating to what we're discussing today?
Yeah, sure. So I think with any guitar brand or any kind of music brand, it's people kind of navigate towards a certain type of genre or who they think might be playing it, or kind of you think back to the Beatles or whatever. We kind of have that mindset. I think there was a shift before the pandemic. There was this kind of we have to hit a quota, diversity quota, we have to make sure there's someone black on the team or whatever. This is for all companies I'm talking about, not just where I am or whatever. And then
during the pandemic, obviously the George Floyd situation happened, and then all the companies were like, oh my gosh, like black people are pissed, you know, like, and you know they had to like they had to do better, and it was more of like a cult, like awakening across the world. You know, I work in reggae, Afrobeats, R&B, soul. You know, I work with the Mali Estate. I work with all sorts of people, and like I don't think anyone that didn't look like me could do it. And I think that's what these companies are starting to realize now. Like that, it's not about like hitting a quota, and it's not about, you know, oh, let's just make sure we have a person of color or a woman or a LGBTQ representative on the team just so it's done.
When it comes to publishing, it's a very cliquey industry. People know each other, everything's more done with who you know rather than based off of your actual talents or your art or what you can achieve. And what Paige said is the truth. I mean, a lot of us will need to stick together and support each other and really push each other to be in these spaces, because for men it is a bit easier, you know, they do have this sort of alpha male way about them where they can get away with things that we just simply can't.
I'm big on solutions, because I feel like I've always been somebody who understands the journey. It's good to speak about what we've gone through. But when all said and done, I believe that we are so powerful and we can overcome these things. And even these things that are bad, that are used to exclude us and used to put us aside, even that can be worked together for our good. So what I found is that, okay, yes, I've been excluded. Yes, okay, this is outright racism in certain places. But what can I take from this to allow myself to be the best version of myself? So there are a few things that I took. The first thing was, I decided that, okay, if the UK doesn't get it, guess what? There's a whole blessed world. There's a whole world. So thankfully, my management had great connections with Nigeria, with Africa. Next thing I know, I'm working with Lauryn Hill. Then we had great connections with America. So again, I'm endorsed by BET, Music Matters. Next thing I know, again, Grammy considerations are coming. Next thing I know, the US Embassy are granting me an honorary green card. So all these things, and I look, I'm like, to think I could have stayed in the UK and got bitter. So I'm thinking I could have fought with these record labels, my friends have been signed by them, and the way they are fighting with them, they're being shelved, they're getting cut out with their money. Or I could just say, you know what, keep your table. Let me create my own. And in doing that, as I said, I think the lifestyle, by God's grace, I've been able to build for myself and my family has not just been one that's been profitable, but one that's given me peace. So, just to recap, if they're not including you, that's all right. Sometimes it's okay. You are able to realise that the world is huge. And secondly, sis, get your own table. And I think sometimes we can have, especially as females, we can have an understanding of, she seems stush, so let me keep my distance. What I've learned to do over the years is, okay, she seems a bit stush, she may be a bit weary of me, let me just go and introduce her to Rach. Not Rachel Kerr, to Rach. Hey sis, how you doing? And just be real. And I found that some of the females who, when we first started, there was a kind of distance because they were like, she's here, what's she about? When I've just gone over and they've heard my accent, I'll be like, alright sis, what's going on? They've kind of been like, oh my god, she's human. In actual fact, she also is going through things. So I think sometimes when we see that, rather than judging it and being like, she doesn't like me, or that I don't like her, just being like, sis, we're on this journey together. How are you finding me? I'm finding it a bit difficult. Yeah. And in just that vulnerability, there's able to be a rapport and connection. So I feel like as females, when we see that in another woman, don't demonize it. We're all human. We've all experienced jealousy. We've all experienced competition. Let's be realistic.
Any jobs that I have, if I get a call, doing a double shoot, can you find me some models? I'm calling up the first 9 or 10 girls. I'll put them on for me sometimes. Yeah. But I find that females don't do the same for me. And that's even now. Even though I've been in the industry for so long, and I've built connections, I think I've gotten to where I've gotten to because of men. Men have really supported me on my journey. And even with the award ceremony that I launched last year, it was mainly men that were supporting me. After the event, it was men calling me saying, you know what, I've had this call from this company to get sponsors. If you want to bring it to London, let me know and I'll help you out. And it probably is a competition thing. But that's probably down to what we discussed earlier, about there's only normally one role for a black female. So as much as we probably don't want to compete against each other, we've kind of got no choice. Because for that particular role, one of us get it, let alone two. So that's probably where a lot of that stems from within the industry. But we do need to work together. This is really refreshing for me to go on stage with, females. The people that personally know me especially from my city, they weren't really interested. 80% of the attendees were from London, you know, and that's why I say it's probably down to where we're from. How can 80% of the attendees be from out of Birmingham? You know, I brought people into the city who you'd be lucky if you ever get to meet them, and you still want to come and support. But now that they've seen, and I think sometimes as well it's they don't have, I don't think it's the faith. Now they've seen the records and the pictures, it's like, you know, yeah, I want to come and jump on it now. I'm like, really? So creating your own table as well. So I've always created my own table, and I think people don't like, and they don't see the work. They don't see. I've done 4 photo shoots in a weekend. I've been to London, I've been to Bristol, I've been to Cardiff, I've been back to Birmingham. Like, this don't come overnight. I have to put blood, sweat, and tears. I was a teenage mom, so I had 2 kids by the age of 17. So I've always had to work and look after my kids and also have a career alongside as well. So I've had the creative industry side, the HR side, and being a mom as well. My goal is to support females. You know, I want all the young black girls to be able to look up at me and say, wow, you did all of that. You were crying, you know, because you got to put food on the table 10 minutes before that event. You know, that's what I want to do. I want to put, so that's what I said. You know, and that's all because of me. And also because we don't have the role models that I needed. So we need to work together. We really need to stick together. You know,
When I was like, you know, leaving uni to try and get to do my own stuff, women were really, really supportive, like around me and kind of helpful in everything that I wanted to do and just, you know, giving me advice and everything. So I kind of kept going like, yeah, women are lit, everyone loves me, you know, like just really happy. And then when I started at Fender, which is mostly male dominated, you know, in terms of like the artists that play guitar, and well, until recently 50% of new players are female. But I think that, I don't know, something about someone like me in the position, the fact that, you know, I'm able to have conversations with people and basically say like, I want to work with you on behalf of this brand and kind of thing. It's a big thing, and there were a lot of like men that were livid because, hang on, I've literally had to like scrape, fight, bust people in the nose to get where I am, and you're coming in now willing to talk to, you know, anyone that wouldn't have been able to give a time of day if it was me, kind of thing. People were approaching me vexed. Like, the streets are saying you're talking text, you know, and it's like, and I think like that was like crazy to me because it was black men that were approaching me and saying this stuff, and they were so mad, and it was so bizarre because I'm thinking, okay, but if females have been so supportive this whole time, why am I mad? But it's because of the industry that I've stepped into, and because it's that like dominated by men, it was like I have to, like you said, Rachel, you have to show empathy to these people because, you know, they're coming from a mindset of struggle and having to fight to get up to it because of the journey that they've been placed in, the environment that was designed not for them to progress, and that has had an impact on how they now view things. And again, it's just empathy. Like, I'm patient, I'm willing to be transparent with you and explain to you how this stuff works. How does, you know, getting approached by brands work? Like, I'm happy to explain that to you and break it down so you don't think it's favoritism or if it's like whatever. Like, it really is very like, it can be black and white. And that a lot of people don't think like that because, again, they've had to struggle. So they just think, okay, no, it's because she knows him or what, you know, and it's not like that at all. Like, there is so much more to it, and it's never personal. I think thinking of people as like genuine humans, just humanize this person.
Okay, when you're young, you're so impressionable about what you consume. If you're a young little boy and you see the footballer running across the field, you say, "Mom, I want to be a footballer." I didn't have any of that. There was no representation of women in film. Like, if you saw anyone in film, it was all the big, you know, the Steven Spielbergs and all the big like blockbuster. Like, when there is actually a lot of women directors, especially more so in film, but they just weren't like pushed to the forefront of things. They never have been. Even till now, they're still not. So, as I said, like something for me that is very important, like when it comes to like my Instagram, my socials, things like that. I know that my socials don't look like your typical director, but I do it on purpose. I do it because I want young women to be able to relate, to be able to be personable, to be able to see, yeah, I'm just young London girl, but then also I have this really amazing career, so you can do it and anyone can do it.
Yeah, and that leads to my next question. So, how do you incorporate equity, diversity, and inclusion within your brand?
Actually, I was surprised to look at my statistics or whatever on Instagram, and I'm mainly followed by women, so I was really here for that. So yeah, I just think just being myself and just being the truest version of myself and not filtering myself and being outspoken on things that I believe in, and if you like it, you like it, and if you don't, that's okay as well. I think too many people are a bit snowflakey at the moment, and I try not to be that. I try to be Marmite.
Our student pool is huge and very different. So I remember one of the conversation was, what does it look like on the website? And I said, if you go onto the website now, the first image you get, and it's like the banner, is a black female with an afro, and she's got a mic in her hand, and again, that's what we use as a poster girl for business. And I remember one of the conversations was, is that wise? Because realistically, looking at the breadth of people that you are catering to, will that turn people away? And I was very much like, thank you for that, we're going to put her on the banner. Do you know what I mean? So, there's a reason why, we're talking about the creative industries, there's a reason why people I know, even people like John Boyega, Cynthia Evero, and Naomi Harris, gosh, we can go on. So many people who have not been able to get opportunities here have blown in the US. Not one person I could list, and I could dance in Idris. Like, there's so many people who, when they're here, it's like, yeah, good. Then they go to America, and it's not like they do well, they blow.
Americans are so much more pro your growth.
So that's what I'm saying. So my main thing is, if that's the case, then so we can't. I will not do the whole. Yeah, we're doing okay. No, it's not good enough. Because clearly, the talent that we have can't dwell here and be comfortable, and not just be tolerated, be celebrated. If we do have initiatives, whether it be media initiatives, music initiatives, TV shows that are catering more of a diverse audience, it's a very monotonal audience they're reaching. What I find is, it's the stereotypical, if I was to say to one of my friends, what's the stereotype of a black person? Or the stereotype of an Asian person? And they'd say, a person's like, a lot of black. It was like, okay, unfortunately that's what apparently our stereotype is. Watch all the initiatives that cater to a black audience, they will always cater to the stereotype, when 90% of people aren't the stereotype. So I feel like rather than progressing and saying, actually, there are females out there are men out there, there are black people out there who love soft life, that love to read, that love art, that love different things. Actually, we're not going to cater to them. We're going to cater to this very narrow perspective of what we believe black people to be, and that is our diversity initiative. It's not good. It's not good.
But what I'm seeing is just a tick box exercise, especially since what's happened with George Floyd. It's like, oh my God, black people exist. We need to start to do something to keep black people quiet. If you really dig deep into these companies, it looks like they're all diverse from the outside. That's what they push out. When you go in, it's not. We need to create our own platforms. Because the people at the top of these things are ticking off all these boxes for a bit of budgeting. They've got these CSR targets, all of this stuff that they need to kind of tick off for investment, whatever. So it looks all nice and shiny. But when you really dig deep into these companies, the CEOs are all still white, the directors on LinkedIn are all still white.
Yeah, I wanted to add to that. So I went to an audition a few years back, and the audition was for a mixed race girl, but when I turned up, it was actually all white girls with olive skin. And I was thinking, this is what you're looking for, but I didn't get picked. But I'm just saying And then I also wanted to say that with the filming industry, we was in a movie recently, and there was no black hair stylist, there was no black makeup artist, and it was just like we was kind of waiting around for there was one black woman, and it was like she didn't really know what to do neither, because she'd been told a totally different thing, and it was just so it just wasn't professional.
There's a problem, especially here, I find in the UK, I'm talking of film and music and things like that. There is a problem with our community in this country, and I've always thought to myself, I don't know if it's because we're so small, that it's there's this weird thing about stardom, right? When someone's a superstar, they become a superstar because they're not accessible. They start to feel like that because I can see you, I can walk into the restaurant and you could be sitting there. In a weird way, it's like we humanise them, that like, oh, they're going to the same place that I'm going to, now they're not as special anymore. And I think that's actually a big problem that takes away from a lot of our artists here, our actors here, and that's why when they go over there, they become such a big thing, because they're this like individuality in such a big pond. Like, you've got to remember, in America, one state alone is bigger than our whole country, right? Like, I always try to use recently when I talk on this subject, someone like Central C. Central C, the reason why he has excelled the way that he's excelled, he's not accessible. You don't see this guy unless he's performing on a stage, something that's booked. I've been to like some of his shows. He will turn up 10 minutes before his performance, walk on stage, do his set, and he'll leave. He won't party, he won't stay in the vibe with his friends and like do all that. Same thing, Mobo Awards, he came through 10 minutes, went up, collected his award, exited. It's the same thing, I think, with the film. You know, like, you've got, I mean, there's definitely progression. I think the fact that we've got films like, Women as King and things like that, a black female lead role in a movie that we, on such a large scale, that we weren't really seeing before. You've got Black Panther, Wakanda Forever, lead black female role, like, there is definitely progression within the industry, you can see it. But I just think it's one of those things that it's like all these things that you spoke about, how like we hit the ceiling because of all the CEOs and stuff, they're still old white men. That eventually will die out. Like, if you look at history and you look about the fact that, like, obviously at one point women could never work. You weren't actually allowed to have a job. Then they opened that door to allow women to work. And then the same thing, I mean, I don't want to go into it too much, but it's the same thing with race, what blacks were allowed to do, what they weren't allowed to do, and things like that. So, like, you can't ignore the fact that there's progression. Of course, the fact that we're in 2023, you would think, hello, like, we need to move a lot quicker, and it needs to go. But, like, this is about an old mentality of people that need to, as harsh as it is to say, die out, so that the new wave of people and thinking can then replace those roles.
Absolutely, like I said earlier, I think we need to create our own platforms though, because as much as it's going to happen, it's not going to be for now. I think it's going to be 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80, 90, 100 years. No, but I'm just being realistic. You know, I sit on boards with CEOs and directors, I have these conversations, and when that CEO dies, who's going to take over? His son. It's not even his wife, it's his son or his nephew. A lot of these, I'm not even talking about from a black perspective, I'm talking about from a female perspective. I'm not talking about
even if it goes down to another white person or their son or whatever it is, because they were brought up in this younger generation of understanding, they will be more open. Because you have to understand, it's like, you know how they say you can't teach an old dog new tricks, right? So it's like, all these people that are running these big corporations, they were born in a completely different era to us. They don't have the understanding or the capability. It doesn't matter how much you try to teach them. Whereas obviously, if they have a son or a cousin or whatever it is where they are a lot more woke and aware due to social media, their surroundings, the dynamics now, like in schools, the fact that everything's a lot more mixed up. Like, it's not like you go certain places now and you just see white people. You walk down the street in London, you're going to pass 15 different people from different countries as well.
That's
so like
true.
You have to have that understanding that hopefully, eventually, like if we keep making the right steps which are being made, that mentality of thinking will die out along the way.
I hear you, but I think the reality is it's going to take a long time, and I do think we need to grow our own platforms.
No, I
think those are, as you said, they own the corporations, we don't, and that's the problem. I think we need to have our own platforms.
I think it's actually, it's a lot to do with both. I am in a very unique situation where I'm a writer. I get to create books and create realities, create stories, meaning if I want a black character, I can have it. If I want a white character, I can have it. If I want an Asian character, I can have it. The book that I wrote, The Hive, it has an Asian in it, it has a black person, it has an Irish person. It's all a female cast. And the reason why I did that is because I wanted to make sure when my book was going out to producers and film companies and directors and all these other people, I wanted them to have no other choice but to have that Asian, but to have that black person. we can create our own reality. Very slow change, it is changing. But as females, and we need to stick together more, and we need to push each other in that right direction. We need to network with each other. We need to see where we can help each other.
Mind on my money, make you dance like broccoli, steady green like broccoli, steady on my grind.
Sponsorships, investments play on your your work and your growth?
It gives it credibility, you know, because I think as soon as people start to see brands or sponsors attached to your company, they think, right, this is a brilliant brand, I want to invest as well. So it definitely helps. My award show last year, I funded it more or less myself, but as I upscaled it, I'm going to have to get funding because, you know, a lot goes into it. There's so much cost that goes in, and I was lucky to, you know, I made the money back and some last year, but because I want to upscale, I want to upscale, I do need the funding and I do need more sponsors, and I'm looking to take my awards internationally, abroad as well. So I do need the funding to help me get out there. And it also helps with advertising as well. Because my awards page, the following isn't that huge, it's probably about 2,500, but I checked today, it's hit 87,000 accounts in the last 30 days. So that's because of the branding, the sponsorships, and obviously some of the people that have on the platform as well. So I was quite smart with regards to using certain individuals to help me market the brand. But what that has done now is it's caught the eye of other brands. So brands are now contacting me saying, oh my gosh, you have so-and-so there. Can we sponsor? Can we sit down around the table? So I think it's really, really important. I mean, you do have to probably start yourself initially and do the funding. But another thing as well, what I did was some of the sponsors that I had, I didn't ask them for any money. I just said, can you provide a couple of bottles for the table? Can you provide some stuff for my goodie bags? And this is how I'm going to promote you. And because I promoted them so well last year, this is all the brands are now coming in this year wanting to sponsor, etc.
I agree. Do you find it's difficult securing? It is, yeah, it's slightly more tricky. I'm a little bit biased on this because I'm actually on the board of the PRS funding, funny enough. So I'm a little bit biased, like, yeah, get funded. But long story short, it is really important. But one thing I will say is the initial investment, and I do want to kind of clear some of the perspectives that I think a lot of this generation have. The first investment in anything that you believe in comes from you.
Yeah.
I will first say that. The first investment comes from you. And how well you invest is not just financial. You know what I mean? It's good to have money to be able to put behind your project, but one thing I found has paid dividends years down the line has been investment in relationships.
Yeah.
Being able to reach out to somebody, and again, I know it's intimidating when somebody may not message back, or and I think someone touched on it earlier, may not reach out back, but one that's very important is, actually, can I take you for lunch? Can I take you for a coffee? Can I get a chance to speak to you? Can I give you some free work? All these things, even now, when somebody reaches out to our business and offers something like that, I never refuse it. Because I feel like, you're going to take us out, you're going to come and do some free work for us. How can we reciprocate that? So, whilst funding is important, as I said, I feel a bit biased talking about it, but it is important. But also, there are so many other ways in which you can build character by investing in relationships. And I think when it comes to relationships, My band I've been working with for the past 11 years, and it's because the foundations of relationship has brought through. So yes in finances, but also relationships is really important as well.
I'm just going to touch on what she said. It's so important to build relationships. When it comes to, especially like writing, there are no really set funds out there. There are a few, but they are quite biased, unless you've had work that's been published before, or, you're well known, or you've won awards, they're not exactly going to pick you, which does pigeonhole you a little bit, because it's very hard to be able to do things that you want to do and still have a full-time job, but still make a script or make a book or, write a song. It's a lot of giving up a lot of valuable time for you and self-sacrifice to put into your craft. But she said it exactly right. Building relationships with people is so much more important. Getting a tweet from somebody or an Instagram post or them saying, okay, let me introduce you to this person, can put you in a place that you'd never even think of before. It really is, and I said it before on this panel, your net worth is your network. You really have to network, and that would be my main advice to anybody within the creative industry. Network. Find people, take them for a coffee, like I said, go to dinner, or just reach out to them on Instagram or on Twitter, or just take the chance. It may seem embarrassing, it may seem a bit like selfless promotion, but honestly, if you don't take those leaps and those faith, you never get in those spaces.
I think like when you're in an industry like this, you have to be on top of it. It might feel cringy, it might feel forced, it might feel like, oh God, I really don't want to do anything today. But at the end of the day, if you do want that kind of support from these big global brands or whatever, you have to find a way to make that authentic and to tap into that. Oh, and one more thing I'll say. If you already kind of think through, okay, well, what brands make sense for me and what brands fit how I am or what I do. For example, if I was an artist and I was really big on wearing only Nike trainers, and my following is growing, and I'm always around the world and everyone knows I wear Nike trainers, but I don't have a relationship with Nike, who's going to knock on the door?
Yeah,
exactly. So be intentional, consistent, and exactly.
Amazing, thank you. So with that being said, how do you guys measure the return on these investments, or just your work in general, both financially and personal fulfillment? Do you have any certain strategies, or do you just rely on your accountant?
I think it's a lot to do with, it's hard to say because any investment you give, whether it be financial or self-sacrifice, it's an investment. Your time is an investment. Being in the studio and writing a song, staying up late and writing chapters and chapters of books, researching, it's all part of the investment. So sometimes the investment isn't financial, but it's you putting a lot of your time, a lot of your effort, going out to the right places, meeting. I can honestly say to you, before last year, I had never been to a book event. Never. And I know that sounds crazy coming from an author, but to me, I'd never done it. I'd never been in that space, and I had to get out of my comfort zone and push myself to be in these spaces and to talk to people. And I know you're probably looking at me thinking, oh yeah, she's confident. I'm not. I'm really, really not. But I had to learn to be confident. I had to learn to open my mouth and speak, because to be honest with you, a closed mouth don't get fed. And the more you actually believe that it really is down to you. You can do so much if you just believe in yourself, if you just open your mouth and say hi to this person, or let me follow you, or let me come to a meeting with you, or let's go out for a coffee. Those little interactions can really change your life. So I would say when it comes to investments, invest your time, invest what little money you have on the side. I'm not saying, don't go broke trying to invest in your dream, but do what makes sense. If there's a chance to, okay, I could buy a pile of books, or I could buy that nice dress, buy the books. Really think about what's going to better yourself, what's going to further you. And yes, you might have to go without for a month, for 2 months, maybe even years, but that payoff at the end. To hold my book in my hand with my name on it, and it says Scarlet Brain, to know I read every word in there. I sat there, I put my time, I put my effort, and I did that. It's a feeling like No, I've not, honestly. So, just yes.
Yeah, definitely trust the process, and remember that there's a time for everything. So, like, there's a time where you have to sow your seeds, isn't it? So, with me, it's all about harvesting. So, you might not get the reward. So, your time comes at a different time. But once you put in that work, you will reap. Do you know what I mean? So, yeah, that's what I would say.
Yeah, I love that point because I'm big on universal laws, sowing and harvesting, sowing and reaping big. Yeah, that's a big one. I was going to say that it's really important to also understand that when you are sowing, and this is what trips a lot of creatives, we sow in one place and we expect that that place is going to bear fruit. What I found is that I think it's even a scripture, right? When you spare in different places and do well consistently in different places, you'll be surprised where you reap. So when I shared with my story, I came in as a commercial lawyer. Then, music's opened doors. Then, actually, let me try and do business. And just to see where I, in my mind, at one point thought that the music's going to be what allows me to live a certain lifestyle. What I didn't realise was that, and forgive me, let me just do myself. What I didn't realise was that God was providing a platform for visibility. Yeah. So it's almost like, let me give you this. This is not the breakthrough. This is let them see you and you be able to have a voice that's trusted. The breakthrough is going to come through business, but if I've been so narrow-minded to believe, right, I want to put 50,000 pounds in my music video and this is going to blow, without realising, in actual fact, it's okay to be multifaceted. I like singing, but I also like coaching. I also like speaking. I love people. And I feel like as creatives, we don't always have one expression of our creative genius. So embracing that, and rather than being subject to certain pockets, like you are a rapper, be that. You are a singer. And I love what you said about your acting first and came to music. Like, I feel like, in actual fact, almost every creative has that. Even if you're an actor, you may love to cook as well. But what I'll say is, being diligent with the gift that you've been given. So, if you are an actor, and you do feel actually, I really like to cook, go and create hear me when I say it, go and create a spice. And just put it on your social media, just like, I'm cooking with this spice today. Again, sometimes we look at one place to be where we bear fruit, but it's actually the platform to what gives us visibility to the thing that will bear the fruit. So long story short, I feel like it's important to, yes, pay attention to where you're sowing, but don't be so naive to think, I want to put everything into this, and this is what's going to blow, especially if you're multi-talented, because if you spare in different places, you'll be surprised what you reap.
Yeah, and I'd just like to kind of carry on from what you said. I say to my friends all the time, I say, what's for you will never pass you by. And we've all got a different path in life. And just trust the process, have faith in God, and trust that process, because it will not pass you by, as you said. It might be a case of you've got to create a spice first, you'll blow that way, and then you'll venture off into something else. Myself, my background's crazy. If someone was to really say to me, define what you do in one word, I couldn't, because I do so much. But at the end of the day, I'm trusting the process, and God will put me where He needs to put me, and I'm on a platform today. I never thought I'd be sitting on a platform speaking with these amazing ladies here and speaking to you guys. Never in a million years, but I'm here. So just trust the process, but also never watch people and everyone's got their own journey. So just because what's worked for me is working for you doesn't mean it's not going to work for you. We've all got our own purpose in life, and obviously it might be painful at times, but that pain will become your purpose. So just focus on you, stay in your lane, stay positive, stay focused, and you'll get there.
So just to conclude, what changes do you think need to be made going forward in the industry on the topics we've touched on today? Just in sentence.
Definitely ownership. I'd like to see women in more ownership roles. I'd like to see better examples of sisterhood. And things like that. Do you get me? So that's a big one for me.
Rachel, what do you think?
Ownership. Ownership's a big one. I remember speaking recently with one of my friends who, I'm not going to name drop, I think it's tacky, but one of my friends who's, by all intents and purposes, has gone down the label route and is doing incredible things, and would say to me, Rachel, how did you get that? With me, I'm doing all this, but you've got that and have a bit more of a peaceful life. Don't have to do a lot of the things that I'm doing. How is that possible? And I've always said it, business and ownership.
you know, I was speaking to somebody in the break about the importance of establishing your coaching business, you know, the platform to do coaching. But as I said, when you, not going to long it out, ownership, own your masters, own as much as you can, create platforms that you own and reap 100%. Because as I said, I feel sometimes we were raised with mindsets to believe that you can only get ahead if so-and-so's helping you, if this company's backing you. But I've seen how my life has changed when I've said, actually, let me create the platform, let me start the school, let me start the business. And not coming from a background of entrepreneurs, everyone in my family is working class, but to see how that can transform when you own your stuff, when you're putting work in and get 100% back, own the stuff. Totally agree.
Is there anyone else?
I'll just say support.
Yeah.
Just like what we were saying earlier, I just feel
Definitely.
like we just need to stick together and support each other. And you know, there's more than one spot in the industry. We can all be on the same level. I know what we said earlier, but we feel like, not we, us here, but women feel like only one woman can take that space. I feel like we can all be up there together. I feel like just support, you know.
I agree. Amazing.
Yeah, and knowledge sharing as well, because you know, today we've learned so much. You know, I find as people in general, we hold everything to our chest. You know, it's scared to share your stories, scared to share your journey.
You're meant to use your blessing to bless others. A lot of people don't want to give you a plug, they don't want to give you their link. You know what I mean? They don't want to put you on your space, they do that, like they don't want to, but you're supposed to do that. Do you get me? So
And also representation, I think it's so important that we show the younger generation that, you know, you can be a woman and get somewhere, you can be a woman of colour and get somewhere, and if you work hard enough to make the right connection, really put your all and your consistency into it, and like Paige said again, to support each other is so important. Whether you know a person or don't know a person, I mean, I get people that will message me, girl, can you throw this up on your Instagram, show you, or can you, I don't know them, but I'll do it. Why? Because they might get 10 customers or 1 customer from that, and it helps that person. It doesn't cost anything for you to support another female.
Ladies, you've dropped some gems today, and I think we've all taken value from today. So, yeah, thank you.
Thank you.